Today on Mangastorian, we're going to be talking about Luffy, Hancock's weird love for him, the fact that the buggy ball isn't referenced by Luffy, and what the hell is going on with Ace? Blow things up, Kevin! Play that B-roll! Is Kevin done with the intro? I had to go get some water from our sponsor, Gamer Subs. Use the code COMICS at checkout and support us and these awesome shirts. Yeah. Also check out our hot sauce. This hot sauce today's brand is Hatchin' Jalapeno. I'll put the link down below. You can support us in our endeavors by hitting either one of those and keep this channel alive. Now this is Mangastorian. I sit down and give you my reactions and what I thought about specific chapters within a manga. I've been reading One Piece since the beginning, and we are currently at chapter, it's like 525 to 550. Basically, it's Impel down. I'm reading the manga, not the anime, though I did watch some of the anime for this, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So your favorite moment might not be the moment that I wrote notes about. There's my disclaimer that I put in front of every video. Oh, I got an alarm. I have a meeting in a half hour. Anyway, let's go ahead and roll into what I thought was going on. Now, Impel Down, I find to be very difficult to talk about because just so much happened in a condensed period of time. I thought it got kind of confusing when we were doing the arc with the mermaid where they were just rapid fire introducing characters. This one was just a lot of different things happening. Basically, Luffy has to break into Impel Down. Impel Down is the big prison. It's where they're keeping the greatest criminals. And he sneaks in there in Hancock's dress. Now, that was funny. I enjoyed that. Hancock sneaks him in under her dress. Luffy doesn't even acknowledge that he's in a woman's dress, which I found funny, because Luffy isn't acknowledging anything about Hancock having feelings for him or what's going on. She sneaks him in, stones a few people so that he can get out, and boom, Luffy is now inside of the prison. The reason he's here is Ace. Ace is going to be escorted out of this prison and he's going to be executed. So Luffy needs to figure out a way down there. The rest of the crew is off on different adventures. By the way, we're going to talk about that for a moment because the cover stories have revealed that Sanji is not running away from a bunch of women. Sanji is running away from a bunch of drag queens, which now makes total sense why he's looking for Robin and he's looking for Nami because he's running away from a bunch of drag queens. There's an entire character in here, Ivo, that just threw me for a loop not because of Ivo's powers, the power of hormone. I know, I jumped way ahead here, and we'll come back to Ivo in a minute, but I just want to point out there, this whole segment is Oda is drawing drag queens and drawing Ivo, and Ivo's turning a guy into a woman and can change everyone's hormones around, which is interesting and weird, and it just made me feel all kinds of weirdness, but it was fine and it's okay. But then on top of it, Ivo has this giant head. And the whole sequence reminded me of Rocky Horror Picture Show. I feel like Oda just watched Rocky Horror Picture Show and was like, I want a character like that inside of One Piece. And it was awesome. I loved the character. I loved the whole thing. But we'll get to that in a minute, okay? I jumped way ahead. If you've never watched one of these before, I suffer from extreme ADD, and that's how these go. My brain juice just spills on the floor, and we just talk about what's happening. Anyway, Luffy breaks into there. Now, Luffy first runs into Buggy, eventually runs into Mr. 3, and also runs into Bon Clay. Now, Bon Clay, I wasn't aware was alive. So, I remember when Bon Clay blew up. And when I was rewatching the anime with my wife, she pointed out that Bon Clay is alive at the ending of that. I don't remember Bon Clay being alive when I read the manga. I just thought Bon Clay was dead there. So at this point, I knew Bon Clay was probably alive, but seeing Bon Clay arrive inside of the prison was a great surprise because Bon Clay is probably Luffy's best friend outside of what's going on, and I really want Bon Clay on the Straw Hats, but I just don't think it's going to happen because there's no promo art involving Bon Clay on the Straw Hats. So sadly, I don't think that's going to happen that way. But basically, Luffy ends up teaming up with these three former villains, and they run across all of the Baroque Works individuals that survived, which I just thought was a great callback. I mean, we literally went back 300 chapters to talk about all of this. So he teams up with Buggy, he teams up with Bon Clay, teams up with Mr. 3. And this is one of the moments I wanted to talk about because of the Buggy Ball. So I posted up that I was going to be late with this video because I was in California last week, and somebody posted up, oh, what about the buggy ball? And I'm like, I kind of remember the buggy ball, but I don't remember it being that important. It was kind of like a blink and you'll miss it moment where Buggy's really excited to kind of like inform Luffy of his super move. Like, don't worry, I can stop the villains. For the record, he teams up with these three and they're running away from basically everyone inside of the prison. Them going stealthily worked for like a chapter, and then they're just running away from everything. Okay, like got monsters, they got guards, they got super guards, all these people chasing them. Anyway, as they're running, Buggy brings up the buggy ball. And this is, so reading the manga, the entire Impel Down felt more ferocious, threatening, like this might actually be a problem for Luffy, more epic and over the top. So someone mentioned the buggy ball, and I'm like, well, I don't really want to go digging through the chapters to see like if it was more important than I remember. Let me pull up the anime, and I Googled buggy ball. Because if you go to Crunchyroll, they have like 900 of the best clips on One Piece, so I can search certain moments. And I pull up the buggy ball moment, which once again was hilarious, and I do remember that, but it was kind of like a blink and you'll miss it joke because he's just like, don't forget about the buggy ball, my ultimate weapon. And Luffy's like, no, I don't remember it. He's so deadpan, so straight-faced about it. But this is one of those moments where the anime was definitely giving a different tone and a different vibe than the manga. In the manga, I was more like afraid of what's going to happen for Luffy, what's going to happen to Buggy, Mr. 3, Bon Clay. When I watched the clip from the anime, it was like Benny Hill music practically going on. Like, nope, this is comical. They're going to run it through the prison. They're going to make their way out. And I'm like, that is a totally different vibe than how I was reading this. Because I was reading it as, be afraid. My assumption was we got Mr. 3, we got Buggy, and we got Bon Clay because someone's going to die. Like, you remember all these guys, but they're all coming out of nowhere because someone's got to die. So anyway, the crew makes their way through the entire Impel Down. They fight various monsters. Luffy shows off his power. Buggy gets upset that no one remembers the ultimate buggy ball. And Bon Clay tries what he can to help out his friend. They're trying to get down there. Now, Bon Clay wants to save an individual known as Ivo. I think it was like Ivanka or Ivanko. Doesn't matter. They called him Ivo once or twice, and that's just stuck in my head. I-V-O. So if I'm even saying that wrong, wow, I just butcher everything. But anyway, Ivo is a former king who went into a different area and became a woman and then came back. Well, it turns out that Ivo ate the hormone fruit, or I think they called it the horm fruit, which basically gives Ivo the ability to manipulate the hormones in anyone around them. So they're trying to make their way down to Ace. Luffy gets completely beat down by the warlord with the poison abilities. Luffy just can't fight him. Every time he punches him, he gets the poison on him and is tearing down Luffy. And they find this Ivo character has been hiding behind the walls of the prison. So right in the middle of this, like, what is apparently a comical run through a prison, but I thought was like life or death run through the prison, they end up going behind the walls into literally the Rocky Horror Picture Show. There's like a song and dance. They're all up there in stockings. They're all singing and dancing and whatever. Ivo's son comes over to get revenge on Ivo for abandoning her kingdom. And so Ivo's response is to turn the son into a daughter. And like, it's a whole sequence. And I'm just like, what is happening? Where did this even come from? I thought we were saving Ace. It is all a part of that, and it plays in a very big role. And what I found weird about it was this thing just came out of nowhere. Horm fruit in Ivo is right in the middle of get to the bottom and save Ace on a time limit. And at this point, Luffy has been incapacitated by the poison guy. The fight between him and the poison guy really wasn't that spectacular because, I mean, Luffy would do a punch, get poison on him, and then he would start dying. That was pretty much it. So, using the hormone abilities, they speed up the recovery of Luffy so that he can recover from everything. But it did a good job of showing that, yes, Luffy is in over his head. He can get killed and defeated. But we have a MacGuffin character here who can save him real quick. So we can establish that this is stronger than Luffy can handle, but we can also move forward. And I do like how they handled that with the Ivo character. But that's when Ivo and the whole crew joined Luffy, because as we discover, who's Dragon? So they discover that Luffy's dad is someone named Dragon, who Luffy establishes with, well, I don't know who that is really. I've just been told that that's my dad by Garp. And I'm like, okay, who's Dragon? This is going to be blowing my mind in like 2 minutes, maybe 5, because I ramble, but we're going to get there. So I'm like, okay, Luffy's dad is Dragon. Ace's dad is Dragon because they're brothers. I'm gonna get there before you comment, don't worry. Anyway, that's where my head's at. I'm like, okay, so we have a character named Dragon that Luffy doesn't know and Ace doesn't know, and that's their father, and then we have Whitebeard and blah, 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 blah. None of it matters what I was thinking at the time. So what happens is they get down there, they just miss Ace. Ace gets escorted out. The race then goes from floor 6 back up to the first floor. So the Impel down again goes in reverse. They're trying to do this to get everyone they can out of there. Ivo has decided to join Luffy in getting out. Ivo and his crew were not getting out of the castle or the prison, but now they're going to be getting out of it because Luffy was with Dragon and Ivo worked together. So Ivo feels this connection to help Luffy escape. It's this kind of epic finale. They end up floating out of the entire thing. I know it seems like we're going a little quickly, but it really is just a lot of running and fighting and running and fighting and running and fighting with a lot of cool moments. And I'll go through my notes like I usually do after this in case I miss something, like this particular note right here. Jinbei. Yeah, I totally skipped over it. Jinbei is like this warlord who didn't agree with them and was locked up with Ace, so he joins up with everyone. So we got Jinbei, we got Ivo, we got Bon Clay, we got Buggy, we got Mr. 3. Everyone's on their way out. They're all trying to fight their way out. Poison Guy's going crazy, and they load up on the boat. And then we even get Crocodile from back in Baroque Works. He now joins up to get them out of there. Huge, awesome thing. I loved all the callbacks to the Baroque Works. I loved all the new characters like Jinbei and Ivan. I wrote it down here. It is Ivanko? Ivanko. Okay, so I did write the full name down. But they're all making their way out, and we discover that Bon Clay is sacrificing himself again. Now, I kind of chuckle because Luffy's reaction was kind of my reaction. Again? Why are you always doing this, Bon Clay? Just leave with the crew. Leave somebody else. But it was kind of heartwarming because Bon Clay's like friendship, and I'm going to get you out of there. But Bon Clay's not dead. He just probably wishes he would be because the poison guy caught him after this. But I dropped the headset. But anyway, Bon Clay sacrifices himself so that everyone can get out so they can get to Marineford to stop Ace. Now, at this point in my reading, I've got my notes down here. Luffy thanking Bon Clay. Anime made this way more comical than the manga. Luffy doesn't remember the Buggy Ball, making Buggy sad. Okay. I legit wasn't going to make this video here. I was like, I don't think that's enough to really talk about because they really just ran down, ran up, and we got introduced to a lot of new characters who may or may not be important. I don't even know if they're going to stick around much after this. But then we had two chapters that changed my entire opinion about talking about this. Now, I thought this ended at 549. So I read 549, and 549 is basically just kind of going through getting Ace to Marineford, and they establish everyone's going to be there. Nothing too drastic. They introduce all the warlords, they introduce all the generals, they introduce everything that's going to be happening in the Marineford arc, which I'm assuming is the war arc. I think that's because that's what we're setting up right now. We got everyone arriving, and we got Luffy and Ivanko, and we got Crocodile, and everyone else going there as well. Like, everyone's going to this spot. And then this morning, before we recorded, I was like, well, let me read a little bit of Marineford. Let me get a little ahead. I read 550. And everything I was going to say was thrown out. Ace and Luffy's dad is not Dragon. That's Luffy. Because they reveal in there that Ace is the bloodline of Goldie Roger. And I was like, what? Wait, hold on. And they established that his mother kept Ace hidden and that his mother died in childbirth. So now my brain is spinning. I'm like, wait, how are they brothers? How are they brothers? And Boa Hancock is the one that says it. They're not blood brothers. And I'm like, they're not blood brothers. What? And I was literally typing to a buddy of mine who I send a lot of these, like my reactions to this and My Hero to. And he was not there, so I just wrote a whole bunch of stuff to him in a real hurry. I wrote, in all caps, Ace is Goldie Roger's son, face rolled the keyboard. And then I wrote, Luffy's not his real brother, face rolled the keyboard. And I said, I want to keep reading right now, but I got to film the reaction. I said, Mother effer they're going into the origin of Ace. They are brothers. Like, for real? What did Garp do? Who's Dragon? Who's Luffy's mother? What's the D? I just typed that last part in all caps. what the heck? So Garp, I'm assuming, and I'm gonna find this all out next chapter, so this is all just quick speculation that will be resolved, I assume, next arc, but Garp took Ace, hid Ace, and then put him and Luffy kind of together to be raised on the island where somehow Shanks made up with them all? And then what happened to who's Dragon and who's Luffy's mother? If they're not the same, how does it all work and function? And why does Ace and Luffy look the same? And what's the D, man? I want to know all of these things, and this is where the video has to like come to a conclusion, because I literally just want to go read more, but there was so much revealed at the very ending here. How does Garp tie into this whole thing? And what's going on? And I just have questions now. I just have questions. Anyway, I know I had a lot of energy for this particular episode. Just so much happened in Impel Down. I felt like transferring the energy that I felt going into Impel Down, where it's just constant and kinetic and just going crazy down and up. But there is one last thing I want to bring up. Literally at 5:49, I had one complaint with this, and the complaint kind of still holds, okay? Why do we as the reader care about Ace? I get why Luffy cares about his brother. I do, okay? I get all of that. But up until now, we've turned this into we need to go stop Ace's execution. It's a huge thing, a huge beat. But as the reader, all I've experienced with Ace at this point is he showed up and was like, hey, I'm Luffy's brother, and then he fought Blackbeard, and they've referenced him a few times. Now, I know why I like him, because he's an amazing design, and when he has shown up, he's been kind of cool. But we don't know anything about Ace at this point, and I don't think we really need to. This isn't an argument for like, oh, we really should establish more Ace, because we just have that connection of him being Luffy's brother. But at 5:49, I was literally getting to the end of it, I'm like, we're all trying to save Ace. But at this point in the story, I barely know who Ace is. Ace has the flame through it. Ace is his brother. Ace, he's cool. But I barely know who he is, and they're making such a big deal about saving Ace. So that was really my only complaint. But then the next chapter, when they revealed a bunch of stuff with Ace, I'm like, that's why we want to care about Ace, because we want to know about Ace, and it's going to tell us about Ace if we keep reading about Ace. But yes, that was the only actual complaint I had at Impel Down, which resolved the moment the mystery started going again. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Again, I do apologize if this was a little crazier than usual. I had a lot of coffee right before here. I'm filming a lot of things back to back, and I just needed a boatload of energy in a hurry. And I didn't intend for it to come out this way. But my energy just spewed all over you guys. I'm sorry. I hope you kinetically got some of my energy and you then were running laps around your house yelling out, One Piece, One Piece, One Piece. I don't even know where my head was going at that one, but you get where I'm going. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time right here at Mangastorian. Don't forget to follow us by liking and subscribing. Check out our other channels, Comicstorian and Absolutely Marvel NDC, and I will see you next time right here.